whisper here. So, I hope you're well. Today I am going to do the music tag, which has been doing the rounds in the ASMR community recently. I don't usually do that many tags, but this one I found quite interesting, so yeah. I hope it will relax you, or you'll find it interesting, or both hopefully. So, number one, the Beatles or the Stones. I'm going to pick the Beatles, although I do like the Rolling Stones. The Beatles for me were a more diverse band. They had better songs and they had a bigger influence on, well, music and pop culture. But mainly I just prefer to listen to them, really. Number two, Pink Floyd or Led Zeppelin. Once again, I really like Pink Floyd. I've got at least one of their records in my collection. And they've got some great songs. I think Comfortably Numb is my favourite, but I am a much bigger fan of Led Zeppelin. I think because they're the heavier band, they're a bit more rock, and that sort of appeals to my taste a bit more, and that's why I prefer them. And I find their music more fun to play as well. So I prefer Led Zeppelin. Number three, first album that you ever bought. And I have two answers for this, really, because the first album I ever bought technically was NSYNC's Pop album, embarrassingly enough. And I only really bought that because other people were buying it and I was trying to fit in. So my second answer to that question is the first album I ever bought, which I still have today, and which I bought because I liked it and I wanted it, is Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory album, which, as I said, I still really enjoy today. I think it's a great record. Number four, favourite album of all time. Okay, well, I think my pick for this isn't something that many people would have on their list of favourite records. And I know a lot of fans of this band would even say that it's not their favourite album by this artist. But I'm going to go for Hours by Funeral. The reason is I really like their first album, which many people say is their best. But when I first listened to the second one, it blew me away with its sort of power and emotion and melody. And there's just something about it which, when it first came out and today, just sort of describes me, really. It's sort of an album that I can immediately relate to in every way, and I think every song on it is a complete classic, and the lyrics are sort of very storytelling, which I like. I've never had an album that I can listen to so many times and enjoy so much every time, so I'll go for that. Funeral for a Friend, Hours. Number five, do you play any instruments? I do. I mainly play guitar, both acoustic and electric guitars. But I also play bass guitar as well. And recently, I've been trying to play that a bit more, so I'm getting a bit better at bass. And rhythms a little bit, sort of basic to intermediate perhaps, and I've been trying to teach myself keyboards, so I know some basics of that too. And but I can't sing. I'm really not good at singing. So I'm definitely an instrumentalist. Number 6. In your mind whilst playing this instrument, we'll go with guitar. Do you pretend to be anyone? I don't pretend to be anyone, no. I always am myself, but having said that, I do sometimes pretend I'm somewhere different. So if I'm playing a song in my room, I'll sometimes pretend or imagine I'm playing to a crowd. And yeah, it sounds pretty silly, I admit it is, but it also has a use because I do actually play gigs in front of crowds and places where people are, and I think doing that sort of mental exercise can help you prepare in a way, so it's not completely stupid, it has got some use. Number 7, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cool do you think Iggy Pop is or was? Well, I think when he was in his prime, which I think was sort of the 70s, I think he was pretty cool, perhaps about an 8. He did some stuff which was pretty extreme, but I think, and that's not cool, but overall, when you look at his influence on punk and the way he embodied that movement, and the songs as well, I think it's hard to say it wasn't cool, so I'll go with an 8. But I think nowadays his musical output is a lot less frequent. Some would say not as good. And he's also been in those insurance adverts over in the UK. I don't know if they were in America as well. So that's not cool, surely. So perhaps a 3 or a 4 for nowadays. Number 8. If you had to be a groupie or roadie in any band, who would it be? I would be a roadie rather than a groupie for My Chemical Romance, even though they're broken up now. And the reason is because they are one of my favourite bands, and I know a lot of their songs on guitar. So I'm thinking if one of their guitarists couldn't play one night, then I could just jump in. Well, that's the plan anyway. And I'd say My Chemical Romance because I have the most chance of actually getting on stage and playing. Number 9, when did you last air guitar? I think it was a couple of nights ago. I was at a bar, and it was a karaoke night, and I didn't do any singing, but someone else got up and did Sweet Child of Mine, and I think that, if that song comes on, you're legally obliged to air guitar to it, so I did. Number 10, when did you last dance on your own like an idiot? I don't really dance on my own like an idiot, although I do sometimes air drum, which can look pretty daft, and now and again swing my head around a bit. So I think the last time I did that was a few days ago. I was listening to a Pantera record, and I might have been banging my head a little, so we'll go with then. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good a dancer are you? I think I'll have to go for 6. I don't embarrass myself, I don't think, but I have to keep things simple. I don't really have any moves. But I can sort of get on the dance floor and not draw attention to myself and not just stand completely still, so I get by. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good a dancer do one, I'm going to go with My Chemical Romance, which was my first ever gig. And I say that because I think it's really difficult to beat the experience of your first gig. You know, I've been to some great gigs since where perhaps the band has played better or the stage show has been better. And, you know, technically it was a better gig than My Chemical Romance, but I just think that first gig experience is something that you never get again and can't be beaten. And I saw them when I was perhaps about 15, and they were touring their second album. I think they just released the Helena single, and it was at My Chemical Romance. My Chemical Romance at Brixton Academy in London. Yeah, best night of my life. Next question, do you share any musical taste with your parents? Well, with my mum, I definitely don't. She likes things like Donny Osmond and Jason Donovan, but with my dad, you know, he got me into a lot of great artists like Meatloaf and Thin Lizzy, Rainbow, Guns N' Roses. You know. The first time I heard them were listening to his records, so. And I'm not ashamed of that or embarrassed about that at all. Next question, your 3 favourite genres of music. I think I'm going to go with rock music and cover a lot of bases there. And punk music and metal. Although, you know, I like a lot more than that, but they're my top 3. Number 17. Which decade do you wish you'd grown up in so you could have lived through that generation of music? I'm going to say the 80s because I think record labels had so much money to spend on bands back then that, you know, the arena gigs and the music videos and the records were just really big, basically, and extravagant sometimes, but I think that was just a great time for the music industry. Even sort of bands who weren't that famous had arena gigs with a stage production that most bands nowadays couldn't afford. And a lot of great records came out around that time. I mean, Appetite for Destruction came out, Master of Puppets, Raining Blood, Slippery When Wet. I just think the amount of quality music and the level of gigs that were around then hasn't really been beaten since. Number 18, favourite guilty pleasure music. I have a lot. If you look on my iPod, you'll find some Britney Spears on there, Flow Rider, stuff like that. Only a few songs though. But I think the biggest one, and the one that I probably like the most, is Belinda Carlisle. Especially the song Heaven is a Place on Earth. It's just such a good song. 19. If you had to choose a song to listen to forever, what would it be? I think I would choose my favourite song, which is I Would Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That, by Meatloaf. And the reason is because, as well as being my favourite song, it's also over 10 minutes long, so it has a lot more stuff in it and a lot more different parts to it that would keep me a bit more interested for the rest of my life than a 3-minute song would. Number 20. Do you write music? And if so, why? I do write music. A lot. I was actually writing some before I did this video. And why? I think just because it's who I am, and I think that's what case of many musicians really. If you have the dedication and drive to learn an instrument or learn to sing, then I think for most people writing your own music is a natural extension of that, and it's something that just happens. There's not really a question of why do you do it, it's just it's who you are. Next question, favourite guitar solo. My favourite guitar solo is the electric one in Metallica's song One by Kirk Hammett. He plays that solo, especially like the fast, big tapping section at the beginning. And the last question is, which song would you karaoke to? Like I said earlier, I'm really not good at singing, but there are a couple of songs which I've sung in the past that have sounded okay, so I think I'll pick them, and they are David Bowie's Life on Mars and Coldplay's Viva La Vida. So that brings us to the end of this tag. I hope